Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz June 8th, 2020. On the show today, news, listener questions, and in our main segment, Jim tells us the story of holding rogue weddings in the Disney parks and how it led to the Disney Wedding Pavilion. Let's get started by bringing in the man who observes that if you die in the same hospital you were born, your lifetime average velocity will be 0. It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
The last time I was actually inside a hospital, I think they did have Highlights magazine from 1959 there, which I also remember reading as an infant. Oh, Goofus and Gallant.
Goofus and Gallant, exactly. Our own Derek Bergen does this Saturday 6 series on the blog, and it's called Derek and David, and it's modeled after this. And Derek did a great cartoon this past Saturday on how to observe, social distancing and safety practices in the parks. And the one that I thought was best was Derek is Goofus in the cartoons, but it shows him his idea of washing hands is taking a bar of Zest soap that he got from the hotels and using it on the Popeye and Bluto bilge rat ride at Universal. Which, by the way, for those of you who haven't been on the ride, it's as if Universal says we're going to send you through a shower. There's no pretense of
none.
Elaborate theming. We're going to get you as wet as you can on this ride, and that's going to be the fun of it. There's not a lot of art or structured narrative to the story. Let's get you wet.
What has always fascinated me is to have Popeye and Bluto's bilge rat barges just up the street from Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls. I mean, seriously.
Oh, yeah.
When you do go into that part of the park, it is literally, you are living the back of a shampoo bottle. It's rinse, lather, repeat.
It is. Oh my God. That should be the title of that section in the unofficial guide.
Yeah.
How is it not?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. That's fantastic.
Okay.
All right, Jim, let's do a quick shout out to subscribers over at disneydish.bandcamp.com. Jim, a lucky 7 weeks in a row with a record number of Bandcamp subscribers. Folks, Jim and I are overwhelmingly grateful for the support. And as soon as the park's open, we'll figure out a way to bring you some exclusive in-park content. Thanks to new subscribers, Chris D, Matt D, and Jennifer D. Jim, do we have a family plan or something? Did we launch one and I don't know about it?
It's the 3 Ds. Woo!
And thanks to longtime subscribers Colleen P, Ryan H, and Sarah V. Jim, these folks are the roadies and studio crew for Aerosmith in the pre-show for Rock and Roller Coaster. Colleen, in some very good makeup, is the audio engineer sitting in front of the console. And Chris is the Chris that Joe Perry refers to when he says, "Chris, can you bring me my black Les Paul?" But to get everyone in the scene, Matt actually plays Chris in the clip. And I'm pretty sure Sarah is driving the limo. Everyone got their Screen Actors Guild card and some tasty residuals for life. True story, Jim.
I learned so much in this segment of the show.
All right, Jim, the big news from Walt Disney World. First, Florida moved to phase 2 of its restrictions on June 5th. That was last Friday. So at this point, restaurants, retail stores, and gyms can operate at full capacity, and gatherings of up to 50 people are permitted. So that means I think we'll see more expansion at Disney Springs, for one thing. And no word yet on phase 3, but progress is being made.
Gatherings of 50 people or more.
Sorry, up to 50 people.
Up to 50. Okay, up to 50 people. So, and we're still doing like the virtual queuing for World of Disney, right?
I think so. I think we're still maintaining social distance.
Okay.
I was at Publix yesterday, and they've got stickers down everywhere. So yeah, I think we're still doing that, and we'll be doing that for the foreseeable future.
Got it.
Also, everyone that I saw yesterday at Publix was wearing a mask, so that was good.
Okay, good to hear that that's an accepted thing now.
Safety first.
Yep.
All right. Thanks to our friends over at www.magic.com and to Scott Guston on Twitter for compiling this little bit of information. It's that Disney is recalling food and beverage workers to start ramping up the resorts. So the food and bev workers are coming back to these resorts: Animal Kingdom, Boardwalk Contemporary, Fort Wilderness, Grand Floridian, Old Key West, Poly, Riviera, Saratoga, Wilderness Lodge, Yacht and Beach Clubs. So you'll notice there that the only moderate is Fort Wilderness, and there are no values in there. I think that's a coincidence. I don't think there's anything to be read into that, for example, about values not opening. I think it's those things first.
Okay.
Also, housekeeping coming back at Animal Kingdom, Boardwalk Contemporary, I think all of the same. So housekeeping's coming back there too. Again, nothing to read into it about the values. I think what they're doing is starting with the small hotels first to make sure everything goes okay, and then move on to the bigger ones. And of course, the deluxes have some of the smallest room capacities.
That makes sense.
Of the other resorts. Yeah. Also, in other news, Jim, you sent me this survey that you got last Friday.
Yeah.
And it was from Disneyland.
Yeah, to give a little background here, over the weekend, a number of annual pass holders were sent this survey. I thank the folks who reached out and shared image captures of this, but it's a fascinating survey, Len. I've never seen them ask some of these questions.
Yeah. So, which questions of those do you think are the most relevant?
They ask questions about the guests' financial status and their job security. I mean, this is the actual question from the survey. Thinking 1 month from now, how concerned are you about each of the following? I will have a job. I will be able to pay my bills. I will be able to provide for myself and my family. That's a really interesting thing for the happiest place on earth to be checking on.
Yeah, they haven't really. It's rare for them in surveys to ask questions about things that what they're really asking is about how comfortable are you spending money in a theme park, right? That's the essence.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah. You only typically see those questions to annual pass holders and maybe DVC members. It's rare. I don't know that we've seen many of those questions to the general public.
Okay.
And especially that level of detail. But yeah, you're right.
The other question that really jumped out from the survey was, which of the following sources do you trust most for health and safety guidelines to help protect travelers from COVID-19? And it starts with Dr. Deborah Bricks, who, again, is one of the experts you typically see at White House briefings. Then goes on to ask about the CDC, Center for Disease Control. Then it's industry associations, U.S. Travel Association, and then elected government officials, national print or online media, and they specifically cite New York Times, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, state and local health agencies, Dr. Anthony Fauci, then friends and family, government task forces, state and local tourist agencies, and then how about cable news, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, then broadcast network news outlets, ABC, CBS, NBC, my personal physician, local television and news, and none of the above. And this is really a Disneyland Resort specific question because Disneyland is, of course, located in Orange County, California, which is one of the most conservative enclaves in the country. It may offend people to hear something like that, but look, we have circumstantial evidence that backs this up. I mean, for example, back in 1973, when Disneyland decided to close down Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln so they could bring in the Walt Disney Story, they actually got lots and lots of angry letters from conservatives who lived in Orange County to the effect of, how dare you take Lincoln out of Disneyland? And it got so heated that in 1975, Disney actually shuts down the Main Street Opera House. And when it reopens, there's now a hybrid show in place where it's the Walt Disney Story featuring Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. And then jump ahead to the summer of 1990 when word leaks out that the Walt Disney Story featuring Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln is going to be closing down after Labor Day so that they can then load in Kermit the Frog Presents Muppet Vision. And there was another wave of angry phone calls and letters from Orange County conservatives insisting that Mr. Lincoln be left right where he is. And so August of the 24th, the Los Angeles Times runs a story to the effect of Abe Lincoln to stay, Kermit hops away. Just like in 74 and again in 1990. The only reason that Disney was looking to shut down Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln is because nobody went. I mean, it would play all day to less than a third capacity.
Right.
Even today, that's still a problem. I mean, you of all people know that with your work on the unofficial guide. It's just the attraction that everybody treats like a fire extinguisher. I mean,
it's like church. We all say it's great. How many of us actually go?
Yeah, that's it exactly. So anyway, Disneyland is 70% of the people who come to that park come from within 100 miles. So it's a question of, where are you getting your news? Who are you trusting? Especially when it comes to COVID, it's, which then factors in, when are you going to be comfortable about coming back to Disneyland Park or California Adventure?
That's a great point. I noticed too that the very next question after that is, when do you think you'll feel comfortable coming back to the parks?
Yeah.
And it lists a set of criteria similar to the ones we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
So local government declares it's safe to travel, better testing. The federal government says it's safe to travel. Schools reopen, stay-at-home orders lifted, and so on. One of them, by the way, is vaccine becomes available. I think, Jim, of all of the survey responses that I would want to see in all the surveys that we've talked about since this epidemic outbreak, this is the most interesting one to me. Yeah, I would love to see that. By the way, there is one choice there. The last two choices, did you notice, are never. Like I'll feel comfortable never.
Yeah.
And then the exact opposite. I'm already comfortable returning to this.
So for me, it's fascinating that they are, in fact, gathering this information, and the fact that it just shows how hard it is for Disney to get its arms around this. Because, again, there's when the state of California says it's okay to go back, but at the same time, it's like the very next question, thinking about when Disneyland Park reopens, what best describes you? And that I would be comfortable visiting the first day it opens, if my pass allows. I would wait at first to make sure it's safe to visit. And then it would be a long time before I consider visiting. And then finally, I am unsure.
That's probably the number two question that I would like to see.
Yeah.
They ask. There's a question about how likely you would be to visit if the following changes were made. So significantly limiting attendance. By the way, we've got a listener question on that coming up.
Okay.
Enhanced cleaning procedures, social distancing, new specialized health and safety training, employee health screening, wearing masks, and so on. Also, guest changes where guests participate in a pre-arrival health questionnaire. We already do this when we're going on cruises. Complimentary hand sanitizer or disinfectant wipes, and wearing masks or face coverings. So they talk about the operational changes and so on. But I think it was a great survey. I would love to see more information. I'd love to see the results of the survey. Did you notice, by the way, too, the last question, or one of the last question, was when you're looking for information regarding which app you might be interested in using when the parks once Disneyland reopens. It's got the Disney Play app. It's got the Disney Resort app. It's got the mobile order for food. It's got the MaxPass app. But two options that we haven't seen before: a mobile show reservations app, allowing guests to select and reserve seats for a show. I mean, my AMC theater does this already. Bring it on, right? And then virtual queues. And we've talked about virtual queues before. Obviously, Rise of the Resistance is a virtual queue. The thing that is unclear to me on all this talk about virtual queues is whether you'll be able to be in more than one once.
Oh, interesting point.
And the reason for that is, as you and I have pointed out, we know from Disney's own internal documents, right? We know from the Buzz Price archives that something like a third of the people in a theme park at any given time are in lines for a ride or actually on the ride. Great. With virtual queues, if a third of the people who were in lines are now not in lines anymore, they're in the regular public spaces for the park, how does that impact the number of people that you can put in the park when you enforce social distancing guidelines? Right? That, I think, is the big question there, because if everything's virtual, then you've got, I think, my math could be wrong, but I think you'd have many more people standing around the public areas, and I'm not entirely sure that's the goal. I don't know that that's the consequence that people want. So that's my big question. I'd love to know what's going on around virtual queues. To our Disney insiders, y'all know what you need to do. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and it's just, wow, this is Fast Pass for visitors. Remember that first year or two that Fast Pass was operating, and Disney had to learn the hard way that, when you cut loose a third of the people, and then the impact that it has on stores and shops and
it changed it. I mean, it changed how we all visit the parks, right? Yeah. And I think this has the potential to do the same thing. And so, and Disney knows this, and Universal is recognizing it too, right? That these changes are going to bring. We're going to try and predict what could happen, right? You can model it, you can simulate it, but boy, the first couple of days are just going to be a learning experience.
Be sure to pack extra patience, and
it'll all be fine. Right. I think we talked about this before the show started, but Jim, I think my big concern right now is the amount of rain I'm getting in Central Florida is just astounding. I don't know if you guys can hear the thunder and the rain that's pounding in the background here, but I was telling Jim that my basil and tomato plants are actually growing mushrooms in between the plants. That's how much rain we've been getting in Central Florida. That's my big concern right now.
Literally, marinara sauce all in one pot. That's amazing. So
it's super convenient, right? Why is this not in Living with the Land? All right, on to listener questions, Jim. Our friend Chris writes in to say this. Hi, I wonder if the Disney Dish could talk about the logistics of the NBA and MLS coming to Disney World. I really don't see those groups joining the cheer groups at the All-Star resorts. What hotels do you think they'll use? Do you think the players will be in the parks? And I think the NBA is planning to go till October. And Chris says thanks. So, Jim, we're recording this early in the morning on Thursday the 4th, and later today, I think at 12:30, actually, the NBA is going to announce its plans for Walt Disney World. And you and I think, have hinted at this in the past, that the original plan that we heard was to have all of the players, the NBA players, stay at, we think, the Coronado Springs Resort, right?
Yep.
At the Grand Destino. But then I heard the NBA was going to allow higher ranked teams to pick the resorts that they stay at. So, for example, if Milwaukee is the number one team, they could pick the Grand Floridian. And my friend Brian, who works for us, had the best joke I've ever heard on this. And he said, of course, the New York Knicks will pick Fort Wilderness thinking it's the Wilderness Lodge. If that does not sum up the New York Knicks draft strategy for the last 20 years.
It's funny because it's true. Okay.
It's funny. It's in every bit of humor, a little bit of truth. But that's what I've heard, right? That the NBA could allow the players to pick the hotels that they're at based on ranking. And boy, if that's what happens in a couple hours when the news comes out, it is going to be fascinating to see how the NBA players rank the Disney World resorts. I can't wait.
I don't know if you've heard the story about Tyler Perry and how he's trying to get his production facility in Atlanta up and running again. And one of the ideas that he's floating is that if you're making a TV show or a movie with me, you're actually going to stay on campus. I was talking with folks at the resort about these NBA players. And the weird part of it is that Disney was thinking that it's going to be wonderful because the players will be there and this will excite people who love basketball and they'll come down and they'll want to get autographs. And they're like, oh, God, no. I mean,
we're going to be in a bubble.
No, that's it exactly. That supposedly was the initial conceit of putting them all up at the Coronado and the Grand Destino. The notion of they will be there, basically bubbled away from the public. Yeah. And that's the thing, part of Chris's question. Do you think the players will be in the parks? It's like, my understanding is they're going to be actively discouraged from doing that because, again, we're still in this COVID-19 space.
Yeah, the idea is that if you interact with the public and then you bring it back to the hotel, you basically expose the hotel.
There you go.
I did notice that in some of the NBA promotional materials to the players, I don't know if we should, I'm not exposing any sources talking about this. Okay, so the pitch to the players was more around things like golf and recreation and weather and decidedly less about the parks.
Yeah. They were supposed to actually hold one entire golf course out that was literally going to be not available to the public. It was going to be available to the players.
Yeah.
But again, this is a work in progress, folks. Come 12:30, we'll learn more. But even then, this will be finessed when they're actually on the ground.
I would be super surprised if they were not all in a handful of resorts. I mean, I think for logistics, it's easier to be one. But boy, if they're spread out like over the Magic Kingdom resort area, they are going to mingle with regular guests unless they somehow lock off an entire section of each resort, which is fine too, right? We'll see at 12:30. It'll be great to talk about it.
Yep.
All right. Our pal Steven asks, when do you think Disney will resume ticket sales? And do you think there'll be any availability for July and August when they do? So this is a great question, and it's going to link into a question we have later on. It really depends on two things, or three things really. One, what the capacity is of the parks when they open in July and August. Yeah. So we know that, for example, the Magic Kingdom holds 80,000 people. The Animal Kingdom is I think 45,000. I think the studios might be 50 or 60. And Epcot, maybe 100, 110, right? But we're going to start way lower than those numbers, right? So, Stephen, we're going to talk. We have another question coming up about hotel resort guests, and we're going to answer your question in that. So stay tuned for 5 more minutes.
Okay.
All right. The always ebullient James sends in this. Good day. I don't know if this is the right place to ask, but I'll give it a shot. Now that all fast passes have been canceled, is there any word of Disney introducing a paid fast pass max type system in the Florida parks? I've used both extensively, and I'd love if they moved over to this system. What are your thoughts? So I think James here is referring to both the Max Pass system in Disneyland and the paid Fast Pass system in Disneyland Paris.
Yeah, you face it, since the very first time the deck came through for this program, this has been talked about. This has been something that's been waiting in the wings for Walt Disney World, but that there was a hesitancy to pull the trigger on it. There is going to be so much pressure to make up lost revenue. It's hard to see Disney not considering this seriously, but at the same time, it's been fascinating to me that there has been this hesitation for years to start this at Walt Disney World.
Yeah, you notice that they started off in France and California, not in Orlando for this. And James, I think we've talked on this show in the past about it hasn't been it's been sort of an open secret, right? That Disney is looking for ways to monetize FastPass in Orlando. If you look at the job postings for the people who are working on the Disney Genie app, for example, one of their 3 or 4 goals is revenue generation on that.
Yeah.
So if all you're doing is trying to save people in line and you need to make money on that, what's the big asset that Disney World has that nobody else has that you can sell in an app? And it's fast passes, right? I think it would be insane from a management perspective to implement the selling of fast passes while there are capacity or ride restrictions in place in the parks. It just reeks of profiteering.
It does.
The public feedback on that would be so bad that I think Disney would not consider it. So I don't think you're going to see paid fast pass in Walt Disney World, at least until all of the restrictions around capacity and social distancing and lines have been removed. And that might be a year or so in advance.
Okay, certainly makes sense. But again, it just, would you just look at what's been going on Wall Street and what people have been talking about Disney celebrating and that sort of thing, the parks and the resorts are going to be under such pressure going forward.
Oh yeah.
I think you've got the time frame right. I think Disney's been trying so hard not to the price gouging issue, taking advantage of the situation, that sort of thing. But
yeah, I mean the revenue pressure on Disney. Well, see, you notice though that when Disney canceled the dining all the ADRs and the dining plans and everything through the end of September of 2021, they're basically writing off all of fiscal year 2020 and all of fiscal year 2021. And I think that is kind of the time frame guide that I would give James on this. Disney said that basically the next 18 months, or at least through October of 2021, it's going to be a wash, right?
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
I think that gives them some leverage with Wall Street to say, look, we're going to be feeling the effects of this COVID-19 thing for at least a year. And so that's going to take off some of the pressure from Disney to hit any sort of revenue targets.
And this is all the way around the barn here, Len. I mean, I want to say the head of Cinemark, the owner of a large cinema chain, was talking about the fact that he anticipated that we wouldn't be back to the normal entertainment cycle, the notion of big new movie opens every Friday, till 2022.
Yeah. And same thing, too, with, I think cruising will be 2022 as well.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of things that come on more slowly than others. I do think at some point, though, when Disney gets really, really tight for revenue, we're going to see Josh tomorrow, by the way, who I love, and his staff out on Main Street tap dancing with hats on the ground, asking for money. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime. I can see Josh with a top hat and a cane.
There you go.
Like literally doing this dance as I'm saying it. So,
Okay.
Josh, if you're listening, I love you.
Yep.
And I'm serious. I think he's a great guy. All right. Our next question is from Jim, who asks this question about the Magic Kingdom Resort area. Is there any indication that Disney will fast track the walkway from the Grand Floridian to the Magic Kingdom? It seems like a good way to help with social distancing. The people coming from the Poly and the Grand Floridian that wish to get to the Magic Kingdom and not have to use Disney transportation. Also, it could be an overflow area for entering the park. What do you think, Jim?
What's been fascinating lately is hearing which projects are getting green light. Like, I don't know if you saw the news to the effect of the Spaceship Earth redo. It was supposed to have shut down last week for this reinvention. It's gone. It's off the table.
Right. Yeah.
This one is kind of a gimme for the very reason that Jim was saying, to the effect of this allows us, another way, another safety valve to get folks out of the park. So my understanding is, yes, this one is going forward. They're looking to have it completed, unfortunately, fall. Partially that is because they're like, I'm sorry, we're headed into the summer months with these new capacity issues, and we just don't know how many people are going to be staying at the Flow, how many of them are going to want to go back and forth to the park. We don't know where this is in the priority list. And frankly, there are other things that need to be done that much quicker.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is it's the rainy season now in Florida, as we alluded to earlier.
Yep.
And, working near water with lightning. Lower on our priority list of safety, but still on the list.
Yeah, and if you want to wear your lucky tinfoil hat, it's a bad assignment. So
it's right. It's a metal bridge over water. Yeah, probably. I don't think there's a 6 foot distance or an N95 mask in the world that's going to save you from those problems, Jim.
There you go.
All right. Our friend Fuzz writes in with this, and this is a reference to the question that Stephen asked earlier. And it's this. Can Len determine how much of the 4 parks capacity is consumed on a regular summer day by vacation club members? Same thing for the thousands of rooms at Walt Disney World Resort. I think that 20% of theme park capacity couldn't cover that many hotel guests. So this is actually a super interesting question. And I don't know that we've done the math before on this one, Jim, but Disney themselves operate around 28,000 hotel rooms, if you count the Fort Wilderness campsites as rooms. There's another 3,300 at the Swan and Dolphin, Shades of Green, and Four Seasons, and then another 3,500 at the Disney Springs resorts, for a total of just under 34,900. Let's call it 35,000 to make the math easier. And the reason why I include in the Dolphin, the Shades of Green, the Four Seasons, and the Disney Springs hotels is that they've all got things like extra magic hour benefits or, quote, some sort of on-site benefit that's extended to guests of the Disney-owned resorts. Okay. And let's say 2 people per room, again, to make the math easier. That's 70,000 people that you've got to distribute among the 4 parks, assuming that there's 100% occupancy, which there's not, but let's go with this. I'm not sure that Disney's going to put 70,000 people in the parks when they reopen in July. I don't think the Magic Kingdom is going to have more than 15,000, and it could be, 8 or 10, maybe 10,000 at the Animal Kingdom and the studios. And I think, it's hard to estimate Epcot with everything that's going on there, but if you want to say 20K at Epcot, that puts you at 55,000 people, right? So if the hotels are completely full, you can't fit everyone in the hotels who wants to go to the park. And the resorts aren't going to be full when they open, even if the hotels are 50%. Occupied. And by the way, that's a horrible number. Disney averages around 90% occupancy in its hotel rooms, and DVC rooms are like 95% occupied. But even at 50% occupancy of those 70,000, you'd still have 35,000 people a day to take up those 55,000 park reservations. And then you've got annual pass holders who are next in line. This is sort of like boarding groups for planes, right, Jim? You get the diamond, the platinum, the silver, the gold, the medallion people first. Then you get families with children. Then you get group 1.
Yes, and I'm always in group 2. Damn it! I just have to throw my carry-on out by the side of the plane.
You just tie it on the back with some bungee cords.
There we go.
Hope that it works out. Yeah. So I think Disney's not going to have any trouble selling out most parks on most days. And there's going to be relatively few slots available for, day guests with single day tickets. I think that the number of people that Disney's committed to by saying that the resort guests and those with tickets for specific days and annual pass holders, that they get first shot. It's going to be really hard to just drive up to Orlando one day and walk into the parks. It's a great question. Yeah, I did a little bit of research on the hotel rooms. The funny thing is I had to do an interview with SiriusXM a couple weeks ago about the NBA. They asked the NBA question. That's how I gathered the hotel statistics. So it's always good to have that stuff at your fingertips. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim is going to tell us the history of rogue weddings in the Disney theme parks and how it led to the Disney Wedding Pavilion. We'll be right back. One of my favorite topics in all of Walt Disney World park lore is the people who get creative when it comes to getting married in the parks. And I've actually seen a few of these. I've seen the 3-minute wedding in front of the Cinderella Castle, the front of Cinderella Castle, where you knew what was going on and everyone was sort of playing along, and Disney security kind of let it happen. And I've seen similar things in, Frontierland as well. But I didn't realize that it happened as often as apparently you've discovered. So why don't you tell us about this?
This has been going on as far back as the 1960s. There's a number of members of Disney security who, it's not that they turn a blind eye. What they'll typically do is they'll spot one of these things going on, and the official rule is they have to be shut down because, again, there's this fairy tale wedding division that people pay tens of thousands of dollars for the right to have their ceremony inside of the park. The older ladies and gentlemen who work for Disney security have a more nuanced attitude. They're far more likely, if they see something like this happen, to slow walk over to the civil ceremony that's happening.
Yeah, and I think that's what, when I've seen it, the security guards are, I think what they're looking for, number one, is this creating a safety
That's it exactly.
issue
That's
with,
it exactly.
With yeah, and if it's not, right, if it looks like you're going to be in and out in a couple of minutes, they slow walk.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great way of saying it.
So typically what they'll do is they'll get there just as they're completing, and it's like, oh, well, you're not allowed to do this, but congratulations, and could you quickly...
Muzzle tough, kids.
And could you quickly disperse before the area manager sees this, and then I have to stomp on you. But I wanted to talk about the fact that, so there's security officers like this that'll turn a blind eye. And then there's the infamous captain of the Love Boats.
What?
Have you heard about this guy, Len?
No.
Oh, okay. This gentleman was a pilot of the Mark Twain Riverboat at Disneyland in, I got to be careful here about giving specifics. Let's just say, the 1960s to, could be later. This guy loved weddings. When he was up in the pilot house and he could look down on the dock of Frontierland, and evidently the Mark Twain was a very popular place to do these quickie weddings because the thinking was you get out on the water, security can't get at you.
Exactly. The first thing I thought of.
Yeah. So this guy knew that, it was a preferred venue. So he looked down for the pilot house, and he got really good at spotting sneak wedding parties because they were always dressed a little bit better than the normal theme park guests. And there were always this group of couples that were kind of tightly huddled together, and there'd always be one woman holding a tiny bouquet.
A tiny bouquet and one distinguished gentleman with a Bible.
Oh, yeah, there could be that, So anyway, what happens is that he'd see that, and he'd send a crew member down. And the crew member would sort of, slide over to the group and discreetly whisper, it's like, look, can you hold off on having the ceremony till we get by the Indian village, or starting in the 70s, when we get by the Hungry Bear? Because by then, you're officially out of sight of any area managers or security officers on shore who could potentially call in and say, hey, there's a wedding, stop it. He sort of redefined, let's make a good guest experience. Because if you came on the Mark Twain, what he would do is, first of all, he'd send the crew upstairs to clear off the back half of the Texas deck. That's the very top floor of the boat. So you then have a space to stage the wedding. And then again, it's like, okay, wait till we get out of sight. Okay, this is the point you're floating by the Indian village. He'd turn off the narration so you could hear the parson give the vows.
Aww.
And then, to really put the cherry on the sundae, he then hustles the wedding party down to the front of the boat. So they take the picture in front of the pilot house, which coincidentally he's standing at the wheel smiling and beaming. So he's in all of these wedding photos.
Hey, everyone needs a witness for the wedding.
Okay. And then the kicker, he would hold the bride back as the boat came back into the Frontierland dock and let the wedding party and the rest of the guests get off and would then take the bride down to the promenade deck so she could toss the bouquet down to her bridesmaids who were now standing on the Frontierland gate. I mean,
from the ship.
from the ship.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, just it's this nice, sweet story. And this was particularly a time when there were very few security cameras in Disneyland Park, especially in the Mark Twain. And so if you had a disgruntled guest who went down to guest relations and said, hey, my trip on the Mark Twain was disrupted by this wedding, cast members had plausible deniability. It's like, no, pictures didn't happen. What are you talking about? We would never.
Wedding? What? I totally missed that. Wow.
Now,
I'll be on the lookout for those going forward.
there you go. Okay. Now, of course, the problem is we get into the 80s and Disneyland, starting in 1985, would be open 7 days a week. It got problematic. But the interesting thing is, I got to talk with a minister from Buena Park about this very practice. And he was the one who clued me into the captain of the Love Boat.
Let me just pause here, Jim. Do you go to a special priest for theme park confessions? That's what I'm hearing here. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the interesting thing is that at the end of the summer ceremony, you step up to and they give you a cup of Beverly, and I mean,
yeah, exactly. The communion wine is Beverly.
There we go.
This tastes like churro.
There we go. Pit.
Oh, we're going to hell. We're going to hell.
All right. Anyway. But no, he actually was the one who clued me into the captain of Love Boat. And he was doing so many weddings at this point. He had the terms and conditions that the captain of Love Boat would do these ceremonies under. And eventually, by the late 70s, early 80s, they'd settled on a formula. And it was like, can't do this on Saturdays and Sundays. The park's too busy, too many witnesses. On the other hand, the ideal time is late spring, because, of course, this is when Disneyland is still on its 5-day-a-week schedule. It's closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. So it's like the ideal time to have a wedding or a sneaky, quick wedding at Disneyland is a Wednesday morning.
Oh.
But here's the thing. They had it down to a science at this point, Len. The minister would say, on Tuesday night, you're going to check into the Disneyland Hotel. Because that means on Wednesday morning, because you're staying at the Disneyland Hotel, you can hop on the monorail, get into the park early, and under the radar. Because again, there's still area managers, there's still security guys who aren't cool. But the idea is you're in Tomorrowland, you just saunter over to Frontierland. You just happen to be there when the first Mark Twain, goes out on the water. And they got it down so much to a science at this point that they had a suggested post-wedding venue, which was the Riverbell Terrace. Just literally get off the boat, walk up the street. They do a great breakfast. But by the time the park switched to the 7-day-a-week operating schedule, especially when Disney launched its Fairy Tale Weddings division in September of 1991, this really got stifled because, again, it was a huge revenue stream. And, just Disney did not want brides who paid top dollar to turn around and see folks, like you said, doing the quickie wedding in front of Cinderella Castle. And as you mentioned, this is still happening. The very last time I was at Disneyland Park, and this would have been spring of 2019, I was taking that, you go by the Snow White Grotto, you can get in the side door.
Oh, the Wishing Well. Yeah.
And
that's a great location.
Well, that was the thing. There was this cute little couple exchanging their vows there and just paused for a moment and, when they were done, congratulated them and moved on. But I want to close this out by sharing a story about the very first official wedding that was held on the Mark Twain. All right. Now, this was September 24th, 1995, and it pretty much went by the captain of the Love Boat's old playbook, Len. And I'm not going to say that the captain of the Love Boat was actually there for this auspicious occasion, but it is worth noting that the father of the groom, a 50-year Disney company veteran, came to the ceremony dressed in Mark Twain's famous white ice cream suit. So make of that what you will, Len.
Yeah, total coincidence.
Total coincidence. So.
This is the suit I had cleaned today.
But anyway, I'll tell you what, folks, next week we'll do a deeper dive on, again, the launch of Fairy Tale Weddings division, and especially the construction of the wedding pavilion at Walt Disney World.
That's fantastic. That'll be our regular show for next week. And that's going to do it for the Disney Dish show today. Don't forget that Touring Plans does a virtual movie night every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where the movie is related to a Disney or Universal theme park ride. Log on to the chat feature at touringplans.com or on Twitter, use the hashtag #LinerMovieNight, and we'll make goofy comments about the movie as it plays. I think, Jim, this week we're doing theme park attractions from Martin's Vids. So Horizons, If You Had Wings, something like that. We'll see what happens. Folks, there's a Twitter poll each week to pick the film. Go ahead and participate on that as well. And you can find more of Jim at jimhillmedia.com and more of me at touringplans.com. We're produced fabulously by Aaron Adams, who's preparing an oyster barbecue sandwich for the food competition at the upcoming 14th annual Rockbridge Bull and Oyster Festival. It sounds dangerous. Saturday, October 17th, 2020, starting at 1 p.m. in beautiful downtown Rockbridge, Virginia. While Aaron's doing that, please go into iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We'll see you on the next show.